And so in the last video, I showed you how we sewed on the binding. We put our raw edges together. We'd folded this in half. I sewed just a little bit away so that this is filled, but you don't have to do that. You can line it up if you want. And then here we are on the right side. This is what we're left with. Beautiful binding, all neat. And on the left hand, on the back side, we have it all sandwiched together, the raw edges here, and it easily folds over. So I'm going to show you how to do it. I haven't got my thimble. My friend is using my thimble and it's rather a success, so I don't want to ask her for it at the minute, but you'll see why later. So I'm sewing this without a thimble, which is not usual. And so I take a little stitch and put it under and bring my needle up there. Can you see that? Let's see if we can do it around this way for you. It's just like a hemming stitch, but of course if you're not if you haven't stitched before, you don't know what a hemming stitch is. So there's the thread at the top, and now I'm going to just go underneath it, point my needle so it comes out on there. It's up the top, down and up, and so therefore all the way along I'm just going to be down and up, I'll take that along, not the same for me without a thimble. This is really a lovely part of the quilt because we're almost at the end. We've just got the label to do. I'm covering up those stitches. See that line of stitches? I'm going to show you that line of stitches. When I fold it over, I've just filled that a little bit and it just comes below the line. We've got our stitching on the back and our front is neatly done. Our back is neatly done too, but the stitches are on the back. I don't feel the need to pin. I can just hold down a little bit and move along. Now we're coming to the corner. And we've got our lovely mitre in that side. We want to create the same this side. So we're going to hem to the stitches that we made when we sewed it on. I've hemmed to there, to the stitch. I'm going to now fold this over and that's going to line up. You want to line that corner up, and I just do a couple of little stitches so I get that lovely L shape as I come along. A couple of little stitches at the bottom there, and there I've got a lovely mitered corner on this side too, both sides. I've created a nice L shape, and I'm going to carry on my hemming and complete all the way round, doing the same with the other corners obviously. So I shall come back when I've gone all round the edge and we can have a look at the quilt together. Here I am. I've come to the end of this little bit of fabric, and so I put the cotton round the needle. I pop it in and pull it out somewhere different. Put my finger on to hold the knot, and there we are. That's hidden the knot inside. I'm going to finish this now, and I'll come back and we'll have a look at the quilt together.
My first thing I'm saying. Am I saying about never done a thing? Am I saying about 3 days ago?
Well,
I said to a friend.
I'm going to say, this is my friend who borrowed my thimble. Now there's a story behind you, isn't there? And the thing is that all my friends, well, I've either taught them to quilt or they knew how to quilt. And I think honestly, I taught them how to quilt. So we're all quilters. But this little one, oh no, I can't sew, oh no, I don't want to sew, oh no. And so when we mention Ali Pally, or we mention, you know, the quilt, NEC, oh no, and you know, it hasn't come to blows with a couple of them, but nearly. Almost. And then I made these videos, not dreaming. Oh, I should introduce you. Well, this is Frances.
Hello.
And I didn't dream that Frances, well, she watches Chinwag, but I didn't dream that she would. I thought she would fast forward all these or even skip them because you don't. Well, thank you very much. But what happened, Frances?
Well, it just so was not my thing, and that's a childhood thing, and that's age 11 being told that I had to make an apron, and you couldn't, once you'd finished the apron, then you could do cookery classes. Well, I never, let's put it this way to make it short, I never got to the cookery classes. I just sat there frozen, couldn't thread a needle. Anyway, fast forward all the years, I didn't sew a button on. I got other people to sew my children's school name tags on. And somehow people would just, yeah, I'll do that for you. And then I had these really good close friends and they were crafting and I was just, I can't do that. That's not for me. And so much so that I think it was less than a week ago, I think it was 4 days ago, I said to one of our friends,
Darling Heather Graney, who writes the poems, if you've watched from the beginning. Yeah.
So I said to H, we were driving along and I pulled up at a junction and I said, she was talking and she was saying, if you're going to Penny's, perhaps you could just, because it's only, and I said, look, could we just get a couple of things straight? It's not just only, it's not, it's just, you just do this. I can't do it. So.
Did you want to do it?
Well, I suppose deep in, you know, sorry, that was my phone. I suppose deep in, you know, I did want, I just never, ever thought that I would ever be able to do anything. And, you know, the quilts are just so beautiful that other people have done, and they were just clever people, and that just, you know, I can do other things but not that. No.
So,
how can you be a quilter if you can't thread a needle?
Thread a needle? Well, you watched it, didn't you? And you move the needle now and not the thread, don't you?
Well,
changed everything.
Everything changed.
And you watched the videos.
I watched the videos, and then I remembered that about, I don't know, 9 months ago, I'd gone to Ali Pali with Heather Greeny, and I'd bought squares of material, and the pressure was off because she said, surely you're going to buy something. And I was like, well, if I buy something, I've got to make something. I can't make something. And then I saw these squares, and they were really lovely material, and I thought, well, I'll do that. So I bought them, took them home, didn't do anything about it.
Well, you couldn't, could you? You didn't know how to. But what
No,
you
but
chose.
you see, when I started to watch the videos, and I watched the first, I didn't know there was going to be a second one. When I watched the first one, and it was broken down.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, I might be able to do that, and then I might be able to do that. And then I sort of thought, well, maybe, possibly. And it went from there.
Right. And so by chance, you came down to stay for the weekend, bank holiday weekend. And I said, well, bring the layer cake. And a layer cake is 10-inch pieces of all the different fabrics in the range. And the range was Janet Clare, or is Janet Clare. And the lady round the corner to me, Smart Frogs, who has got a quilting group and who I get my, supplies from, her mum is in the quilting group. Janet Clare's mum is in the quilting group. And so it made it even more special. Frances went round there. She bought the backing. She bought the...
she was so enthusiastic.
You couldn't believe it, could you?
So enthusiastic that here was someone who might be starting on a journey.
Yeah.
And I loved it because she was very enthusiastic. And I just loved her little shop in her front room. And I just immediately saw a backing fabric, which I thought would go.
Yes, absolutely. So Frances came back here, and because she bought a layer cake of 10 inches, we ignored the size, which was 9 by 5 of the one I made and demonstrated. We just cut them straight in half. Well, that was so simple, wasn't it? Before you could say Jack Robinson, these pieces that she'd chosen had been cut in half. She'd got a lovely variety. And so that's a good thing to say, that if it is your first quilt, a layer cake might be a very good thing to buy, because you just cut the pieces in half or quarter and put them together. None of this, oh, I'll have a bit of that and I'll have a bit of that, and having all these different fabrics. And so... yes, here it is. Are we going to show them?
Absolutely.
She's done it all herself. You sewed it together on my machine, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I must just say, the machine went like this. Whoop. Whoop. Oh. I said, just try a little faster. And then by the end, doing on the edges, it's... and this has been this weekend. We've had lovely weather here in the southeast of England. The weather, hasn't it been sun?
It's been
wall
gorgeous,
to wall.
gorgeous.
So we've been out for a lovely walk.
Beautiful.
It's just beautiful, isn't it? Every day, and then came back and did this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hold it up. Well, look.
I'm super proud of this, and I know that that's a strange thing to say, but I am super proud of it, and I do understand now, for the first time, why people would share. I didn't quite get the sharing aspect. And I thought, well, I can't show what I've done. But I am so super proud to show you. I just love it. I just love it, love it. The material is just gorgeous. It was quite hard to make sure that you didn't have two pieces exactly the same beside each other.
But then if they were... I've got 3 pieces beside each other.
But I love the colours, the way they go together. I love the movement. I love the way you've got the ships here, there and everywhere. For me, it's me. It's plainish, but it's oh, I love it.
You love it, don't you? And the back, you're quilting. Oh, Show and tell.
So
Never done a stitch, never threaded a needle.
these are my coming up here, and first of all along the bottom, and then on the other side I decided I don't know whether I'd do it the same again, but you can barely see, you can see it there, my stitches just going down there.
That's it. And so if you are an absolute beginner, take it from Frances, follow along with the videos, and it can be done. But what about the first time when you were just going to sit here and quilt?
Oh, that was so funny. So here I was at the table. You've got a beautiful view there, everything all ready. I've got, you know, and now I'm going to pick up I bought this King Tut thread from Alison Smart Frocks. And oh, the other thing is I must tell you about is the thimble. Penny gave me her thimble to use. I thought that the thimble went on the opposite hand to the needle hand, and I thought it was to stop you stabbing yourself, but I now realise that it's to push the needle through. However, we were about to start and Penny said, I think I'll just get a tissue. And I thought, yeah, all right. And she said, so here's the tissue. And I said, what? And I put it to my face and I was absolutely dripping, dripping, perspiring.
Yes, that's it.
I was sweating like anything.
Yeah.
Just the thought.
Just the nerves of it.
Oh.
Yeah. But look what you've done, and you've done it hand on heart,
so
done
proud.
it all on her own. So what was funny last night was I said, well, that's good. I'm going to just do the label, and then I finished this little group of films that I never imagined I would ever make, because I haven't got a camera set up and all of that. I just have to do it as best I can. Oh no, said Frances, you must show me how to do log cabin. So maybe that's another lot that's going to be coming
You'll have
up.
to give me a while.
Yeah, oh yes, you have to give me a while to get over all this. So we'll say cheerio, and I'm going to show you how to make the label now.
Thank you.
Well, it's me back. It seemed only a second for you, but for me, we've had lunch and I've said goodbye to Frances, and she's so emotional. She's joined the ranks of the crafters and she's so pleased. I can't tell you. Anyway, let's press on with what we need to be doing, because the quilt's here finished. But I will give you a good look at what it looks like when I've sewn the label on. Because traditionally quilts all have labels and they have names. So I'm going to call this one Chinwag because I made it on Chinwag. And I'm going to put my name on it, and I'm going to put the date that I made it. And that's it for the label. I mean, obviously, when we make a label and we're going to give a quilt to someone, we can say, to Fred, to whoever it is, with love. We can put all that. But this is just for the label for this quilt. So I'm going to write Chinwag. Uh, 24th, I think it's the 25th, but that won't matter. I finished it on the 24th. 24th of May, 2024, made by Penny. I wrote that on my little bit of sandpaper, Chinwag. I'm going to embroider that using some red, it's traditional, some red embroidery silk. I'm just going to show you very simply how I did that. Needle in and down, take tiny little stitches. Come up and go down where you came up last time. A little back stitch. come up, go back in where you were, and you're doing little back stitches to form the word. And there you have it. I'm going to take that out. I'm just going to cut that a reasonable size and then turn the edges under and sew it on the quilt. And so here it is. Here is the finished quilt. And the back. You see that 5% little wriggle that it has. And I've just done the label chinwag. And the way I did that, it's the first time I've ever done it. I just embroidered it, as you saw, just with little back stitches. I then put the piece of fabric on some bonder web and stuck it to the quilt. Never done it before, but I thought it might be easy for absolute beginners. I then just did some little tacking stitches or little sewing stitches just round the edge to hold it, and then I just wove some of the cotton through that I'd quilted it with. And it's a good enough label, isn't it? And so here we are, Chinwag's quilt. I'm really pleased with it. I'm happy to have shown, especially as I know for someone it's the beginning of their journey. So thank you so much for joining me while I did it. It's been my real pleasure. And I think that Francis wants to do log cabin, but we'll see. I don't know if that'll happen. But certainly filming this it's been very enjoyable, and I've loved showing you. Well, I want to say thank you. Thank you if you've watched these videos that I've made. And I hope that if you haven't ever made a quilt, it's inspired you to make one. And if you are a quilter, then I know we've shared some tips and some thoughts along the way. So thank you very much for all your wonderful comments. I so appreciate them. And so all that's left to say is cheerio until next time. Bye-bye.